What's up, guys? My name is Aaron, and I teach English and Spanish on takelessons.com. And today I wanted to make a video to help my students learn a fun way of learning English. And of course, that is through music. So today we're going to be studying a song by Kelly Clarkson, and it's called My Life Would Suck Without You. And this is just a super fun song. Every time I hear it, it just makes me want to get up and dance and go crazy and just enjoy myself. So when you listen to this song, it's not going to feel like studying. And of course, that's the key to learn any language, is to make it fun. I chose this song specifically because it has a lot of informal English and slang words. So you might hear Kelly say some things in this song that someone told you not to say in English, or someone might have told you that this is wrong. Well, it's not wrong. Kelly is not learning English, she speaks English. She's a native English speaker. And this is just the way she talks. So you should at least be aware that English speakers do talk like this, and I want you to be able to recognize it and understand it when you hear someone say something like this. On top of that, if you always use the language that's in your textbook, you're gonna sound like a textbook. So I encourage you to listen to this song and listen to the way that she talks. And if you try to learn from the way that she talks, you're gonna sound more like a native English speaker when you speak English. Now, with that said, this lesson is going to be geared a little more towards intermediate or advanced English learners who can benefit from learning the slang and the informal ways of speaking in English. But if you're a beginner, then still listen to the song because it's still super fun and I still think it'll help you learn English. So let's jump into the song. Here's the first verse.
Yes, this means you're sorry. You're standing at my door.
So I told you that in this song, Kelly uses informal English. And right from the very start, she's already breaking the rules. Her first sentence is, guess this means you're sorry. Now, you might already know that in English, you always need to include the subject of the sentence. So what she's trying to say here is, I guess this means you're sorry, where the subject of the sentence is I. But she doesn't say that. Here, the subject is just understood to be her. So when she says, guess this means you're sorry, she's really saying, I guess this means you're sorry. Which means that she doesn't really know for sure, and maybe no one actually told her this, but somehow she just knows. Then, in the next line, we're able to see how Kelly is able to guess that this guy is sorry. So he's standing at her door, which probably means that he left and then came back to her. And from that, she is able to guess that he's sorry. Now, we don't know for sure yet what he's sorry about, but apparently he's been a bad boy and he has to come back and he has something to apologize for. And we're going to find that out next.
Guess this means you take back all you said before.
Now, I want to talk for a minute about the phrase take back, because this is two words, but really it's one verb. Because when you use these two words together, they mean something very specific, especially when you're talking about take back some words. Now, when you buy something from the store and you take it back, you're returning it because you changed your mind and you don't want that thing anymore. And this is a very similar concept, because the guy has said something to Kelly, and then he changed his mind, and he's coming back to her, and now he wants to take back the things that he said. It's like he's saying, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said those things, I take it back.
Like how much you wanted anyone but me.
Now, I really quickly want to talk about why she used the word like at the beginning of this sentence. It's because she was talking about a list of things. All the things that he said that he's taking back. Now, she didn't tell us what those things are, but they might have been something like, you're fat, or like, you're stupid, or he might have said something like, I hate you, or anything else. We'll never know, but these are a list of things that he said. The one thing that we do know is that he said, I want anyone but you. So here, she's giving an example of one of the things that he said. And this is really a very serious thing to say to your girlfriend. If you say, I want anyone but you, that's literally saying that I would be happy with any other person on the planet, but not you. So you are the only person that I don't want. That's kind of crappy. Now, listen to how she pronounces the word wanted, because she does not pronounce it the way that you might expect. The proper way to pronounce this word in English is wanted. But when we're speaking in actual conversations in real life, that's not the way we talk. We tend to run our words together and speak fast, and we get a little bit lazy. And if you're good, you'll still be able to understand English speakers when we're talking like this. So she's dropping the T out of that word and kind of weakening the D at the end. So instead of wanted, she says wanted. Just listen to the difference between those two a few times. Wanted, wanted. Wanted, wanted. And this is a very common thing for English speakers to do, such as words like painting, or mounted, or hunting. Like, I'm going deer hunting this weekend. So pay careful attention to that when you listen to people. If you don't understand one of the words that they're saying, it might be because they're pronouncing it this way.
Said you never come back, but here you are again.
Here is another example of Kelly's informal speech, where she takes a sentence and drops the subject. Now, what she's saying here is, you said you'd never come back. But what she actually says is just, said you'd never come back. And it's understood that the guy is the one who said this, because he's the one that she was just talking about. So the subject of that sentence kind of carries over to this one. And now we're going to go into the chorus, and this is honestly the most fun part of the song. So here it is.
'Cause we belong together.
The only thing I want to say about this line is that she does not use the full word because. She shortens it into cuz. And honestly, that is much more common than using the whole word. And honestly, these two words mean the exact same thing. The first one is just more formal. The second one is less formal. Now here she's using the word got in the same sense as the word have. And this is not a correct way of saying that, but that's how she talks and everyone understands her. So when she's saying you got a piece of me, what she's actually saying is you have a piece of me. And I don't understand entirely what she's saying there. She's being a little bit poetic, but apparently she's saying like, he is captivating her, or just that she really cares about him in some way. The other thing I want to point out is her pronunciation of got, because she doesn't say you got a piece of me, she says you got a piece of me. And that's another example of how we run words together in English. You will never experience an English speaker saying the words got a. At least not a native speaker from the United States. That's just not something we say. It's gotta all the time. So what she's actually doing there is taking that T sound, the T, and replacing it with a flap sound, the R, which you'll be familiar with if you speak Spanish or maybe some other language that has these flaps And one of the things you're going to notice if you really start paying attention to the pronunciation of English speakers is that T's are very fragile. So they don't survive very long when they're at the end of a word. So that's why Kelly doesn't pronounce this word the way that you might expect by saying gotta, but she sees that T at the end of the word and gets rid of it and replaces it with a flap and then mashes the two words together into one word and says gotta. And that's just what we do in English. So she starts this next line off by saying, and honestly. And this phrase literally just means that she's being honest. She's not lying to us. But really, this is just a filler word that doesn't mean a whole lot. It's pretty common to put this phrase before the beginning of a sentence, and you can have it there, or you can not have it there, and it doesn't really change the meaning a whole lot. Now, let's talk about the word suck a little bit. You might be familiar with this word as in sucking from a straw or sucking on a lollipop or maybe some other stuff that we're not going to talk about here. And that is one correct meaning of this word, but that is not the way that she's using this verb here. And this is just a slang way of saying something is really bad. So you can say, this movie sucks, and it basically means I don't like this movie. Or you can say, I suck at basketball, and that just means that you are not a good basketball player. Now, you want to be careful with this word because it does have sexual connotations, and it is a little bit rude no matter how you say it. So you want to be careful who you say this to. My mom used to scold me whenever she would hear me say this word when I was a kid. So maybe don't say this in front of children, don't say it in front of old people, don't say it at church or at a job interview, but you can say it with your friends. That's usually okay. So what Kelly is saying here is that her life would not be good without this guy. And she's saying it in a very informal, slangy way. And this is a way that someone would be likely to actually speak to their boyfriend in real life.
I was stupid for telling you goodbye. Maybe I was wrong for trying to pick a fight.
And I want to talk about this phrase where she says, pick a fight. Because really that's three words, but it kind of acts as one verb. Because you can say pick your nose or pick out a puppy or something, and that word pick really has a different meaning from what we're talking about here. And the phrase pick a fight means you're trying to start a fight. So maybe that means you throw the first punch, or you try to talk or behave in a way that makes the other person want to start the fight. So if you know you want a fight, then you can try to get them to start it, and that way you're innocent because you didn't throw the first punch. And that's what we're talking about when we say pick a fight. Now, the word fight also has more than one meaning. And what she's talking about here is probably not a physical fight where you're punching and kicking and biting each other, but rather a verbal fight or an argument where you're yelling at each other and making threats and insults and these kind of things. And I want you to notice how she tries to rhyme the word goodbye with fight. And that's another example of a word that ends with a T that she does not pronounce. It's like a silent T almost. So that's how she can get away with rhyming goodbye and fight. She just kind of suddenly stops the vowel, and that's how we know there was supposed to be a T there. We call that a glottal stop.
I know that I've got issues, but you're pretty messed up too. Either way I find out, I'm nothing without you.
So she says that she has a bunch of issues. And the word issues has a few different meanings. Here it just means that she has problems. We don't know what her problems are. Maybe she has anger problems or family problems, or maybe she has problems with drugs or something. We don't know. It could be any of those. Those are all issues that she has to deal with. And then she goes on and says, "You're pretty messed up too." And a mess is just something that's really dirty, and it's not clean, it's not tidy, it's unorganized. So when she says that you're pretty messed up too, she's just saying that he also has issues. He also has problems that he has to figure out. So really, with these two sentences, she's just saying, I have problems, and you have problems too. And I like how she says butcher, which almost sounds more like the English word butcher, but it has nothing to do with this sentence. What she did is took the English word but, which ends with a T, and then the word your, which begins with a Y. And in English, when those two sounds come together, a lot of times they lose their original sounds and they turn into a ch, like a CH sound. So instead of saying but your, which would be a little bit difficult for an English speaker to pronounce if they're speaking quickly, she just says butcher. And that's also a very common process that you are going to hear a lot if you listen to a lot of native English speakers talk. And if you ever listen to an English speaker pronounce the phrase don't you, they probably aren't going to say don't you, they're probably going to say don'tcha. And that is the same principle.
Being with you is so dysfunctional. I really shouldn't miss you, but I can't let you go.
Now, she uses the word dysfunctional, and normally that means something is not working properly, like it's broken or for some reason it's just not working. But we also use that word a lot having to do with relationships, especially family relationships. So if a family is not conforming to the normal social behavior that we expect a family to do, and if they're behaving in a way that we see as bad or wrong, or they just can't get along with one another, we call that dysfunctional. So if you've ever seen the TV show Arrested Development, then that is an example of a dysfunctional family, because they can never get along, they're always scheming about one another, and everyone is just looking out for himself. So that's what Kelly is talking about here when she says that her relationship with this guy is dysfunctional. It's just not working. And that covers all the vocabulary and all the phrases that I wanted to cover in this video. So if you have any other questions about the song, or about English in general, or about any of the pronunciation processes that I talked about in this video, feel free to leave a comment and I will definitely do my best to help you out and get you speaking English. Thanks for watching my video.